Hey guys, what's up? It's basically horror reviews. I'm here with a collection update video. This is going to be the last one for at least until I get my shipment from Severin, because I ordered stuff from their sale, and it's it still is yet to ship because I pre-ordered something that didn't come out until like yesterday. So, but yesterday I also got the last thing I've recently purchased in the mail. So, I've got a decent little stack of stuff here. Just gonna go through it and start with the DVDs. First, I bought some cheap releases. I think these are both from Sub Rosa. Yeah, two really cheap releases from Sub Rosa. Bought them off of eBay for like a couple bucks a piece. I couldn't say no. The first one is Twisted Illusions 2, which I haven't seen this one. This one came out in like 2004. However, the first Twisted Illusions film was a shot-on-video, super low-budget horror anthology, and there was a specific segment in there where like a fucking vacuum ends up murdering a child or something like that. Like a kid is killed by a vacuum cleaner, I think, something along those lines. It's really, really bad, but it's very entertaining, directed by Tim Ritter, who's responsible for A Truth or Dare, A Clinical Madness, which is a really great kind of low-budget 80s slasher film. That's actually Elijah Wood's favorite horror film, weirdly enough. But he directed that. He also did... what else did he fucking do? The first Twisted Illusions, obviously. I think he also directed this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. I can't be sure off the top of my head. Also directed Killing Spree, which is a really interesting kind of zombie movie about a guy murdering all of the guys his wife is cheating on him with, and they won't stay dead. It's that one is a pretty fun little gory flick. Tim Ritter also did this film in like the late 90s called I think it's called Dirty Cop No Donut or something along those lines. I can't remember the title exactly, but it's kind of a dark comedy, like shockumentary, basically about this guy posing as a police officer, and he's harassing people, abusing his power, and it's literally ACAB the movie, and I can completely get behind what it's going for, and it's also kind of an absolute shit show. It's pretty poorly made and kind of hilarious in how bad it is, but simultaneously I respect where it's coming from, and I get it, and I can completely get into it. But Tim Ritter is a very interesting director, and this is his long awaited sequel to the first Twisted Illusions, which I haven't watched this one yet. We'll probably get around to it eventually. The other one I got from Sub Rosa is a movie I've actually seen. Although I don't like this movie. I mainly got it because I love the title to this movie, and I also just like love how bad the cover art is. It's The Last House on Hell Street, which that cover art is just there's something about it. I don't remember what this fucking movie was about. I think it's like some kind of haunted house type movie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I can't remember what this was about. I was really bored. I fell asleep watching it. Tried to rewatch it when I first saw it, and again I just got really bored and kind of sat there suffering for the runtime, which this movie runs for a little under 2 hours, which is not justified at all. Next is one I found for like $3 at the store. I was like, hey, I kind of like this movie. This is one of the films, one of the like somewhat sleeper hits from a couple years ago. This movie came out. Nobody really saw it. Nobody really liked it. I heard a little bit of buzz about it and then nothing. I put it on my best of the year list because I thought it was pretty interesting, although not amazing. It's Bad Samaritan, which stars David Tennant. Yeah, David Tennant, who was one of the doctors on Doctor Who. I don't watch that show, so I wouldn't know. However, this movie got called absolute garbage. This movie was fucking torn apart critically when it came out. Don't get me wrong, this movie isn't amazing. However, I think David Tennant is really good in it. I think he's really creepy. I think the lead is pretty good too. There's definitely some inconsistencies with writing with this film, but I can get behind it. It's basically a film where this petty thief who breaks into people's houses. He works as a valet at like a restaurant, and he breaks into people's houses while they're at dinner. And he breaks into David Tennant's house and finds a woman chained up, ready for the chopping block. And he calls the police about it. The police show up. Nothing really happens. And he can't really go to the police and say, like, hey, yeah, I saw it in this guy's house, because he'll fucking get in trouble. And he's like an Irish immigrant who's working on getting his citizenship in the U.S., so he can't, risk getting in trouble, otherwise he'll be forcibly deported or something like that. Still, it's not a bad movie. Not a bad movie at all. Here we have a bad movie. Definitely a bad movie at all. It's fucking Blood Freak. Holy hell, I love this movie. I really love this movie. Blood Freak is an immensely interesting little 70s splatter slasher type monster movie. So this movie came out, and the directors, the people backing the film, the producers on the film, backed out, so the director had to finish it himself. So he filmed scenes of himself explaining what happens during some scenes, because they couldn't shoot some scenes in between, which is hilarious, first of all. And second of all, this is a weird pro-Christian, anti-drug, anti-science, splatter film about a biker who is turned into a turkey monster that then drinks the blood of drug addicts to stay alive. He has to drink the blood of drug addicts to stay alive. This movie is something else. This release as well, I think this is a release from 2003, something like that. I bought it new, however. But this release has a ton of special features. I mean, all that yellow text right there is special features, and that's amazing. There's a number of short films and, just different stuff on here, which is really great, that may or may not have to do with the actual film. There's a documentary. There's 3 documentaries on here, I think. All of them about fucking turkeys, and these are just weird public domain documentaries that nobody has seen outside of maybe a biology classroom in the fucking 70s. It's very weird, but definitely chock full of content. And I can completely respect that. I really hope that eventually, somebody comes along, Arrow Video, and does a really, really nice, amazing fucking Blu-ray release of Blood Freak, because this is not on Blu-ray as far as I know, and it needs a Blu-ray release. I bought the DVD because I doubt there's going to be a release anytime soon. However, it's happened to me so many times where I'll buy a DVD of a movie or a cheaper release, and then suddenly this nice new release gets announced. So I'm hoping that this will initiate something in the butterfly effect of the fucking world. I don't know what I'm saying. On to the Blu-rays, we got Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, which this movie is fucking horrific. This is the Dark Sky Films Blu-ray from 2009, I think. There's been a 30th anniversary Blu-ray, which has a new restoration and everything. I don't really care too much, because that Blu-ray is a little more expensive. This was $6. new, and that's mainly because that this Blu-ray is like, you know, is kaput. It's out the door. Nobody cares about this one anymore. I really like this film. I love Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's a really amazing film. It's really, really disturbing and horrific and uncomfortable. And Michael Rooker gives a performance of a lifetime in this film. And I think that this is also a film that proves that you can do a true crime film that is a horror film based on an actual serial killer and have it be, you know, disturbing and uncomfortable and horrific and graphic, but still keep it in the realm of, you know, fiction, and still, you know, not make it super exploitive. Like, this film, you know, some people would argue that this one was extremely graphic and violent, and there's some grisly moments in the film. However, this movie could have been much, much worse. This film is very restrained in a lot of ways, and I can really respect that. And that's something I really appreciate about this movie. But yeah, this is like the fucking like 20... It's like the 2010 release, because this film technically got a theatrical release in like 1990, even though this movie was shot in the 80s and was screened a few times in the 80s. So this was like, yeah, this is like a 10-year-old Blu-ray copy of this movie, but I don't care too much about the new restoration. I think the film looks fine the way it is on this Blu-ray. Going from fucking horrifying and disturbing into even further depths of being just every level of no, we have the Blu-ray of Come and See from Criterion. I pre-ordered this, and I fucking hate myself for it. So, bit of a history lesson. Come and See is this really great anti-war film from the Soviet Union from the 80s. It was made in the Soviet Union. And it is one of the most depressing, disturbing, horrific films I've ever seen in my entire life. I saw this when I was like a senior in high school, and I have been meaning to rewatch it ever since, but I would always put it off because I was like, well, the DVD is like out of print, there's no Blu-ray release, I'm not gonna fucking go out of my way and pirate this fucking thing again, because that's how I saw it the first time. You know, I'm not gonna go out of my way to do that to myself again. If there's ever a Blu-ray release or a new release, I guess I'll have to rewatch it. Let alone 6 years later, here we are, and there's a Blu-ray release with a very great fucking restoration of this film. And yeah, I rewatched this, and it's like a fucking vision out of hell. Comparable to Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, this film is extremely restrained in a lot of ways. It's really horrific, and I would say it's definitely really violent, and there's some really just bad things going on in this movie. But it's also an extremely beautiful film in a weird way. There's like a really great use of light surrealism and kind of magic realism going through it that really make the hard-hitting moments hit even harder. I cannot say enough great things about Come and See as a film, because it is legitimately 10 out of 10. This movie is perfect. However, this is a movie that I don't want to watch ever again. I think I might watch this one more time, mainly because I did buy this nearly $30 Blu-ray for the sake of it, for the sake of rewatching it. So I'm going to have to watch this again another time. But that is not going to be anytime soon, because absolutely fuck that. I do highly recommend just about everybody see Come and See. It's not pleasant, and I recommend taking like a day off of work afterwards, or lining up a film afterwards that is not depressing, a film that maybe makes you laugh a lot or that makes you happy, because this will ruin your fucking week. This is like I'm pretty sure this was my #1 most disturbing movie when I did my lists yearly. Up until I was like, you know what, Goodbye Uncle Tom is like kind of worse because it's 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 literally, you know, a film starring Haitian slaves. But this film is still fucking up there for me. Another Criterion release we got. This one is another one that's like, why? I don't know if this will ever had a Blu-ray release, but I'm surprised it didn't. I'm surprised there wasn't a release from Criterion until now. It's War of the Worlds, the 50s, 1956, I think. I'm not gonna fucking look at the back of this to check. But War of the Worlds, based on the H.G. Wells novel. This is the film from the 50s. You know, I hadn't seen this movie in a very long time, like since I was probably around 9 years old, and I remember liking it when I was younger. So I pre-ordered the Blu-ray because I was like, oh, why the hell not? You know, could be cool to revisit this and see if it's as good as I remember. This film was most definitely as good as I remember. And I also want to say that this film visually is very beautiful. Like, if this movie would have been shot in black and white, they would have lost so much. Because if this would have been shot in black and white, it would not be nearly as good of a movie, I think. Because on a visual standpoint, this movie is very vibrant, it's colorful, yet simultaneously it's kind of, sort of, very bleak looking. I love the use of colorful lighting and the sets and everything. The visual effects are so ahead of their time. I really can't say enough great things about this. Included in the special features for this, which I think is really cool, is the Mercury Theater performance of this from 1938 that Orson Welles was responsible for, which is the famous performance that people that is commonly believed to have caused a mass panic because people believed it was real news reports of an actual alien invasion. But it has that on here, like, as a special feature, the entire fucking radio program, which is pretty cool. I haven't listened to it yet. Although I'm sure that program itself is probably in the public domain, because I'm more than certain that War of the Worlds is in the public domain by now. But that doesn't change the fact that's just a really cool addition to this release of a legitimate classic of science fiction filmmaking. I think this is also a classic of horror filmmaking. I mean, War of the Worlds isn't explicitly a horror film. However, I think that this movie has a nice creepy kind of undertone to it that really works. Up next, we got a couple of Blu-rays I bought because they were cheap as fuck, like, surprisingly. We got the Blu-ray of Candyman from Scream Factory, which, this Blu-ray came out last year. I remember when it was announced, I was like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to upgrade. I've been meaning, like, like, I really love Candyman. This is a really great movie. Absolute classic. If you don't like this movie, you're fucking wrong. Let's just say that right now. However, Candyman is really great. It didn't have a US Blu-ray release, as far as I know, until this, which is fucking weird to me, in my opinion, because this is like an American classic of horror cinema, of, black horror cinema. I think of cinema in general, personally. So, to see this on Blu-ray is amazing. However, this was announced like last summer, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, fucking Candyman, finally, in the US. And out of nowhere, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll have to pick that up eventually, because there are so many releases from Scream Factory where I'm like, that's a movie I really like, I'll pick that up once the price goes down. And more often than not, especially with some releases, like, the price just never goes down to a price I'm comfortable with, and then it goes out of print, and I either end up paying a lot for it, which doesn't happen often, or I, am just like, damn, I should have grabbed it when I had the chance. One of those titles in particular is their double feature Blu-ray of Reptilicus and Tentacles, because I really like Reptilicus, and I've been meaning to see Tentacles for a very long time. But, you know, I usually wait for the prices to go down a bit. You know, like 15, maybe 16 or 17 bucks is like my comfortable range. Spending money on a single Blu-ray, unless it is something like Criterion, where it's either that or nothing. So, you know, I like to wait for prices to drop usually. You know, but they usually don't. But for some reason, the price for Candyman on Amazon dropped like fucking mad. Like, I remember I saw this was like sitting at like 15 bucks. I'm like, this is a year-old release. Usually releases like this don't go down to 15 bucks within a year. And then I looked at it a few days later and it was at 10 bucks, and I'm like, again, this is a year-old release. This is something that if it were any other fucking title, it would literally still be around 20 bucks. Also, the Sleepaway Camp sequels, those are ones that I missed out on because those are going out of print, and the prices are really high, and I didn't want to pull the trigger on them because I just didn't want to spend the money. But still, Scream Factory Blu-ray for 10 bucks. I've never seen a Blu-ray from Scream Factory for less than like 17, unless it was used or something like that. I got my Blu-ray of Halloween 2 my copy of their Blu-ray of Halloween 2 from a used DVD shop. Which, you know, is like, you know, not uncommon, but I got it for like 5 bucks there, which is not bad at all. But yeah, Candyman, absolute fucking classic, based on a Clive Barker like short story. Amazing. Comes with all these special features. Comes with the unrated version, which I've never seen. I don't think it's actually ever been released on home media, but still, you know, the first Candyman, not a bad film at all, not a bad release of the film at all, and for 10 bucks, you cannot fucking beat it. Now on to the sequel, Candyman Farewell to the Flesh. This sequel's okay, it's not amazing. Like, there are things about it I really like. I really love the atmosphere of New Orleans as the setting. I think there's always great potential to set horror films in that city, because it just oozes atmosphere, especially when you put it on camera. That being said, I just dropped that. I'm not gonna fucking pick it up. That being said, the sequel's okay. You get more backstory to Candyman, which is kind of cool, I guess. It's mostly entertaining. It's not as good as the original. Definitely nowhere near as bad as the third one. That one was like 12 bucks, and that's a Scream Factory release from like 5 years ago, which again, not a bad price at all. But yeah, that's fucking it for this collection update. I don't know when I'll be back. Hopefully soon. Either way, guys, it's Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews. Signing off. Peace.